If you throw a stone into a river, everyone standing on the bank will see the splash at the exact same fraction of a second. If you play a note on a piano, everyone in the auditorium will register the same melody. On the surface, this seems like an insultingly simple truth. The world is out there, solid and independent, and our eyes and ears are simply recording devices capturing it. But as we explored in our previous episodes, modern cognitive science has systematically demolished this assumption. Your eyes do not capture images. They convert chaotic photons into generic electrical sparks. Your ears do not hear sound. They transform atmospheric pressure shifts into digital biosignals. Your brain is a locked vault, generating a customized, survival-optimized user interface, a controlled hallucination. But this exposes an even deeper, more terrifying mystery. If you are locked in your dark room creating your reality, and I am locked in my dark room creating mine, what is the Wi-Fi network that links our rooms together? Why don't our illusions drift apart? Why don't you see a towering mountain where I see a roaring ocean? Are our minds plugged into a cosmic mainframe? Is there an invisible, biological encryption key that forces 8 billion separate brains to render the exact same digital matrix? Today on Mindful Facts, we are going into the deep architecture of the human mind. We are exploring the consciousness grid, the hidden, biological, and quantum synchronization protocols that prevent our shared dream from collapsing into absolute madness. To understand why our realities are synchronized, we must first look at our manufacturing blueprint. Every single human being listening to this video is running on the exact same base-level hardware. Our species spent over 200 million years evolving in the trenches of survival. During that brutal timeline, nature didn't care about absolute truth. It cared about consistency. Imagine two early hominids walking through a prehistoric jungle. A predatory saber-toothed tiger steps out from behind a bush. Hominid A's brain processes the photons and renders a massive, terrifying predator with razor-sharp teeth. Hominid B's brain processes the exact same photons, but has a slight evolutionary mutation. It renders the tiger as a harmless, colorful patch of floating butterflies. What happens next is obvious. Hominid B is instantly wiped out of the gene pool. Hominid A survives, reproduces, and passes down its specific reality-rendering software to the next generation. This means that human beings do not see the world as it is. We see the world the way survivors see it. We all see the same boundaries, the same gravity, and the same physical limitations, because any human whose brain hallucinated a different, non-lethal physics engine was ruthlessly exterminated by natural selection. Our brains are running on a rigid, hard-coded biological firmware. When you look at a table and I look at a table, our internal computers arrive at the same image because we are using the exact same software version Homo sapiens. We share a reality because we share an evolutionary filter. But biology alone isn't enough to explain how our realities stay locked together in real time. There is an active, physical process happening right now between your brain and the brains of the people around you. Neuroscientists call this neural entrainment. When two human beings enter the same physical space and engage in an activity, whether they are having a conversation, watching a movie, or listening to a lecture, their brain waves literally begin to mimic one another. In a groundbreaking study conducted by Princeton University, researchers placed storytellers and listeners inside fMRI brain scanners. They discovered something mind-boggling. When the storyteller spoke, the listener's brain activity mirrored the speaker's brain activity, with a delay of just a few milliseconds. In some highly empathetic listeners, their brain patterns actually predicted the speaker's brain activity before the words were even spoken. This is the biological manifestation of the consciousness grid, our Brains are not isolated islands. They are highly sensitive radio transceivers. Through micro-expressions, vocal frequencies, eye contact, and chemical pheromones, our brains are constantly broadcasting their internal state and adjusting their dials to match the brains around them. When an entire crowd sits in a stadium watching a football match, they aren't just independent people looking at a ball. Their neurological processing units have locked into a singular, hypersynchronized network. They are, for that moment, a singular collective organism processing a singular shared hallucination. If you feel alone inside your skull, you are wrong. Your brain is constantly reaching out into the dark, whispering to every other brain in the room, making sure your dreams stay perfectly aligned. In the early 1990s, Italian neurophysiologists made a discovery that changed our understanding of human connection forever. They discovered a specialized class of brain cells known as mirror neurons. If you pick up a cup of water, a specific set of motor neurons in your brain fires to execute that movement. But if you sit completely still and watch someone else pick up that cup of water, those exact same motor neurons fire in your brain, as if you were the one moving your arm. Your brain does not clearly differentiate between your actions and the actions of others. It maps the experiences of the outside world onto your own internal biological matrix. This is why empathy feels so raw and physical. When you see someone cry, your mirror neurons simulate sadness inside your own limbic system. When you see someone smile, your brain samples a microdose of joy. This neural mirroring acts as a massive stabilization mechanism for our shared reality. It creates a psychological common ground. It ensures that the emotional, behavioral, and perceptual meaning of an event is processed almost identically across multiple human minds. We see the same world because our brains are constantly copy-pasting each other's homework. You are a mirror reflecting me, and I am a mirror reflecting you, creating an endless loop of synchronized perception. But what if the synchronization goes deeper than biology? What if the reason we see the same world isn't just because our brains are similar, but because the universe itself refuses to allow us to see something different? To explore this, we must enter the strange, unsettling world of quantum mechanics. As we discussed previously, subatomic particles exist in a state of fluid probability, a wave function, until they are observed. But quantum physics introduces another mind-bending concept: quantum entanglement. When two subatomic particles become entangled, they become deeply linked. If you change the spin of one particle on Earth, its entangled partner changes its spin instantly, even if it is sitting on the other side of the universe, millions of light years away. Albert Einstein famously dismissed this as spooky action at a distance, yet it has been proven true in modern laboratories over and over again. Now let's scale this up to human perception. When you and I stand in a room and look at a diamond sitting on a table, we are not passive observers. Our bodies, our eyes, and the photons bouncing off that diamond are all part of the same physical ecosystem. The moment my brain observes the diamond and collapses its quantum wave function into a solid object, I become entangled with that diamond. And because you are in the same room, interacting with the same photons and the same air molecules, you are instantly drawn into that same collapsed wave function. The universe doesn't have to render two separate realities for us. The moment one conscious observer forces the quantum field to make a choice, that choice ripples through the local environment at the speed of light, locking every other observer into the exact same physical outcome. The world is consistent because everything in it, including you and me, is woven into the same interconnected quantum fabric. But what happens when a mind disconnects from the consciousness grid? What happens when the synchronization protocols break down? This is the terrifying reality of severe psychological conditions like schizophrenia, deep clinical depression, or acute delirium. For decades, society looked at people suffering from these conditions as individuals whose brains were simply broken. But modern cognitive science looks at it through a much more profound lens. Their brains have simply desynchronized from the collective user interface. In a person experiencing an intense hallucination, the brain's internal predictive loops become so powerful that they completely ignore the prediction errors sent by the eyes and ears. Their brain stops listening to the physical world, and it stops adjusting its dial to the neural entrainment of other human beings. To them, the shadow on the wall is a physical demon. The whispering in the wind is a literal voice. This tells us that sanity is an incredibly fragile consensus. You are considered sane only because your brain's internal hallucination aligns with the hallucination of the majority. If tomorrow morning your brain mutated slightly and began rendering the sky as neon green and gravity as a sideways pull, you would be instantly cast out of society. The physical world wouldn't change, but your connection to the consciousness grid would be severed. We are all walking on a tightrope of shared perception, held up by nothing more than biological agreement. When you step back and look at the grand architecture of human reality, it is easy to feel small. We are biological machines trapped in bone boxes, reading compressed data streams, trying desperately to stay in sync with one another, so we don't fall into the abyss of madness. But there is an alternative way to see this. It is a perspective of absolute awe. You are not an isolated ego wandering through a cold, indifferent world. You are an active participant in a grand cosmic symphony. 8 billion minds, running on ancient evolutionary firmware, constantly whispering to each other through invisible brainwaves, locking their quantum states together to create a stable, beautiful, and vibrant home out of a chaotic universe. The world might be an illusion, but it is our illusion. It is the dream we built together, and it is the only place where we can truly find each other. Thank you for watching this deep investigation by Mindful Facts. If this video shifted your perspective on how you connect with the world and the people around you, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think humanity's reality will ever desynchronize? Or are we bound together forever? Until next time, keep minding the facts. Thanks for watching.